All right. So today we have Gracie Davis and Melissa joining us. And welcome, Gracie. She is the section manager for accessibility certification and mobility management. And Melissa Mangia is the section manager of operations for Access. So thank you for being here, and we appreciate you coming to present about Access and all the new changes. Hi, Gracie. Okay.
Good morning. And thank you all for inviting Melissa and I to All About Access. Today, I will share with you some information, some policy, procedures, some guidelines, and processes. So first of all, let me get started by sharing with you, why do we have Access Paratransit? Anytime a public entity have public transportation, it is mandated that they have access service or paratransit service for individuals that is unable to use public transportation. But there are some requirements. The requirements are, if you're unable to walk or propel to and from the nearest bus stop or navigate the fixed route service, it's a possibility that you may be a candidate for the certification process. This process and service provides service just as fixed route, the same location and the same time. If fixed route does not go to the location, access service will not go to the location either. We are compatible 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route service. So let's get started and tell you how you can get certified to use the service. It is very simple. All you need to do is make a phone call. We will complete the application over the phone, schedule an appointment, call the individual back, and we only do telephone assessments due to the pandemic. For the past 10 months, we've been doing only telephone assessments. But in the future, when it is safe and we get the authorization from Orange County Health Department and the CDC and the state, we will start back with the in-person assessment. And I'm so excited to share with you that we have a new certification center in the city of Orange. So it's centrally located for all of our community. So once we start back up, it will be 100% functional assessment. Okay, so just think, once you're qualified to use the service and you would like to travel some other location within Los Angeles County or New York or Washington, you can become a visitor. Anytime that you're ADA certified, you can request your home certification department to send your information over to any county that you would like to use. And if you have your documentation, you can just forward your documentation to that county or that state. So it's really easy. And we have 24 hours to complete the process. So I know a lot of individuals come in from Los Angeles to the Braille Institution when you all was open. So they had visitor status to use that service as well. So please call us up if you need visitor status, and we will accommodate you. So you're certified, you can travel to other locations. Let me share with you how you can book a ride. That's very important. What you need to do, you want to make sure that you have the complete address that you're traveling from and the address that you're traveling to. Give that reservation that information. Also, they will give you the pickup window. That pickup window will be within 30 minutes. For example, from 9 o'clock to 9:30. it's very important that you be at the curb between those times, because the driver only waits 5 minutes. And 5 minutes can arrive very quickly. So if you're not there when the driver arrives and he waits the 5 minutes within the window, you can be marked a no-show. And that's one thing that you do not want, any no-shows, because with that process, if you have X amount of no-shows, you can be suspended from the service. So let me share with you our no-show policy. So the policy is, if you occur anywhere from 3 no-shows or late cancellation within the same 30 days, and you book at least 10 trips and have 10% of your rides within that month, that it is a possibility that you may receive a warning letter to let you know that you have exceeded the guidelines for no-shows. And the warning letter, along with the intent to suspend letter, will offer you the opportunity to have a hearing. And if you're suspended, there's offenses. 7 days, that's your first offense. You'll be suspended for 7 days. Your second is 14 days. Your third is 21, and your fourth is 28. We are not in the business of suspending anyone. We welcome everyone that is certified to our service, but we have to follow these policy and procedures. That's why I want to empower you, so that once you start using the service, you'll know the rules and regulations. Another policy I want to share with you is the fare policy. When you are boarding, you have to have your fare, and you have to have the correct fare. The driver does not give any change. $3.60. You can pay by coupon, or you can pay by cash. And we have other ways that you can pay that's coming up. We are in the process of, and we have at least, you can book by calling into the telephone, or you can book by booking online. The online process is very easy. If you have any challenges, please call the eligibility department at 714-560-5956. The staff will accommodate you and set you up for your online booking. That number again is 714-560-5641. All of the information that I'm sharing with you today is online in our Rider's Guide. So all you need to do is go online to OCTA, www.octa.net. Go on the transit operation, and then you look for access service, and you will find all of this information. And if you unable to find the information, I will forward Leanne a Rider's Guide, and she will be able to facilitate you as well. So we share with you the no-show policy, the fare evasion. And one more thing I want to say about the no-show policy. Late cancellations. If you need to cancel your trip for some unknown reason that's out of your control, or please cancel 1 hour before your pickup window. So if you have a pickup window starting at 9 to 9:30, you need to cancel that trip by 8 o'clock. It's very important that you do that. Okay? So another policy I want to share with you, and this policy has been kind of challenging during the pandemic, and that is our customer conduct policy. We all have policies that we need to make sure we follow. This customer conduct policy is any inappropriate behavior while on our vehicle or while speaking to any staff member. You have to be courtesy, respectful, Just like you want everyone to respect you, you need to respect the reservationist and the coach operator and everyone on the bus. Because if you do receive an incident, we have a process that we go through, same as the no-show process for suspension. So be on your best behavior at all times. And we enjoy working with everyone in the community, but we want to make sure that everyone is treated fair and with respect. So let me just go over you a few safety concerns. Like for some of the safety concerns are, you cannot and you do not supposed to use profanity on the bus. You're supposed to respect your individuals. You're supposed to do not have any open containers, or you do not supposed to eat on the vehicles as well. Now, I understand that some individuals have reasonable accommodations, and if you need those accommodations, make sure you call the eligibility team so we can work with you. That is very important. And it also shares with you that you're only supposed to take 2 packages, and that for service animals, your service animals supposed to be under your control at all times. That's very important. And if you have any complaints or any concerns, make sure that you put a formal complaint in through our customer relation department. And that information is on the website for that process as well. And if you need that number, I will share it with you now. That number is a toll-free number, which is 800-636-7433. And let me share with you some other transit resources that we have within the county that OCTA is assists with. We have programs as the Senior Mobility Program. You have to be 60 and over, and we have those programs in all of the cities except 2 cities within Orange County. If you're interested in that program, you're welcome to call 714-560-5660. And that's another transit option. I share with individuals, please do not always rely on access service for all of your trips. If you have options like the Senior Mobility Program, fixed route service, and also I'm going to share with you about our travel training program. We identify individuals that can be trained during our certification process. And if you're interested and would like to be trained how to use fixed route service, please give us a call. It's very simple. You will not lose your access service on any of these programs that we are offering to you. You will continue to use access service. So for our program with the travel training, you can call 714-560-5956. That's the same number for eligibility, and we will be able to facilitate you as well. All of these services that I'm sharing with you will empower you to give you transit options so that you won't have to rely on just one service. So let me share with you about another program that we have, and that's our same-day taxi. Melissa will elaborate on it, but that's another option that you have as well. And the same-day taxi, it costs a little bit more extra, and it provides service on the same day, but that's another option you have. So there's so many options that we have within OCTA so that you can have different types of transportation. And all of our service that we have for as access service and fixed route service, you can purchase coupons online if you, we are having limited hours at our store at OCTA. And also there's different locations within the community that you can purchase the coupons from as well. So let me just share some of those locations with you, which is Vons, Ralph, and Northgate. But make sure that it's a safe environment, being that the pandemic is on. So it's best that you order your tickets, coupons online. I think, oh, one more thing I want to share with you before I pass it on to Melissa. To share with you that if you go to a location and you're going there consistently, you can apply for our subscription service. But the subscription service you can apply for that service after you have used our service for anywhere from like 2 weeks to 3 weeks. We want to make sure that you are consistent and that you are customers that following our guidelines before we sign you up for the subscription service. But that's a service that you don't have to call to make reservations. You can just use that service as needed. So I think I went over all of the policies and procedures. Melissa's going to share some operation information with you. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Gracie. Good morning, all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Melissa Munguia. I am the section manager of paratransit operations. I work very closely with Gracie. There are a couple of things I'd like to talk about today. First is a ridership update, our COVID-19 safety procedures, and some recent OC access policy changes. So let's start with ridership. Prior to the onset of the pandemic, OC access weekday demand was about 5,000 trips. While we are a long way from full service recovery, we have experienced a positive trend in ridership since the start of calendar year 2021. An analysis of the trend tells us that an average weekday in January of 2021, just a couple months ago, produced 800 trips. And now in May, we are seeing just under 1,200 trips. And that is a 43% increase in a relatively short time frame. We believe that the increase in these trips can be attributed to more recreational use in line with the county's gradual reopening. An assessment of the same-day taxi ridership, demand for same-day taxi was not impacted as severely by the pandemic as OC access service. Prior to the onset of the pandemic, weekday ridership was about 450 trips. And over the course of calendar year 2020, demand was about 300 average weekday trips, which was a 33% decrease. So same-day taxi didn't experience the decrease in demand as OC access. But with same-day taxi, we are now seeing a similar trend in 2021 with ridership gradually increasing. May trips were 400 average weekday, which is very close to full service recovery. So in response to the increase in demand on OC access in that relatively short time frame, MV Transportation, who is the OC access service contractor, is now using a taxi subcontractor who is Cabco Yellow Inc. So you might have seen some taxis picking up folks more recently. MV decided to shift overnight and weekend service to Cabco beginning May 1st, so just a couple weeks ago. Weekday overnight service are the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and weekend service includes any trips after 2 p.m. on Saturdays and all day Sundays. So if you're riding during those hours, you can typically expect that a taxi will pick you up to conduct your trip. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about COVID-19 safety procedures. We have continued to limit shared rides on OC access, and we have no share rides on same-day taxi right now. Vehicles are disinfected regularly, and hand sanitizer is available to all riders. We also remind riders, about wearing a face covering And in partnership with the Orange County Healthcare Agency, we conduct contact tracing and notify riders when we are informed of a positive case on our services. We are continuing to follow federal, state, and local guidelines regarding COVID-19 safety. And there's a lot of updates this week in the news, particularly the new CDC guidelines on face coverings. But I'd like to remind everyone that the face covering guidance for public transit has not changed. So what this means is that face coverings are required in order to board and must be worn properly covering the passenger's nose and mouth throughout the duration of the trip. So the last updates I'll give before we, I think, open it up for questions is some policy changes on OC Access. So the first I'll mention is do not leave alone. In March, OCTA informed customers that the do not leave alone courtesy service through OC Access would be discontinued on December 31st of 2021. Do not leave alone is a request that the driver will not leave the passenger unattended while on board the vehicle or when arriving at the passenger's destination. This is a courtesy service not mandated by the ADA, and in the past has created operating and compliance challenges. Under the ADA, passengers may request an escort to their door as a reasonable accommodation. And if another passenger with the do not leave alone designation is on board, the driver is placed in a situation where the ADA compliance is in direct conflict with the do not leave alone service request of the other passenger. There have also been situations where a passenger requesting do not leave alone arrives at their destination and no one is there to meet them. This causes significant wait times and longer ride times for all passengers scheduled to travel on that vehicle for the rest of the day and places a strain on OC Access service. So because OCTA is subject to ADA guidelines regarding maximum wait times and ride times, these performance measures are taken extremely seriously. And as mentioned, to ensure ADA compliance and resolve the ongoing operating issues experienced, like I said, on December 31st, 2021, OC Access will discontinue and no longer accept do not leave alone requests for any trip. The OC Access riders who currently do have do not leave alone on their record will be provided with that service until December 31st to allow them the opportunity to seek other transportation accommodations. And I'll note too that the population of folks who have this do not leave alone designation is very small. It's less than 3% of our riders, and we have an open communication to find other transportation resources for them. Another policy change I'd like to bring up today is Needs Lift. In March, OCTA informed customers that the Needs Lift policy has changed. Needs Lift was a permanent request for the driver to deploy the vehicle lift for a passenger in order to board in place of the stairs. We determined that deploying the lift for boarding and exiting is a reasonable accommodation in compliance with the ADA, and it doesn't require any formal approval or documentation process. So this means that we will no longer use the Needs Lift indicator on customer profiles. And as of March, passengers no longer need to tell us in advance, and they can instead communicate to their driver upon pickup or drop off that the lift is required. And so those are the two policy updates I wanted to share today. And in total, that brings my update to a close. I can pass it back to the Braille Institute team to facilitate questions. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Gracie and Melissa. One of the things that I know some of my students have had some concerns about, really thank you though for the service. Great, I know that this is one way that my students can have their freedom and their independence. And I really appreciate hearing about the senior mobility program. So we've always tried to work with what's available in different cities. Remember, students, that Braille is here with our orientation mobility instructors to be able to teach you more how to use these systems and to be able to get out and about as much as you possibly can. Thank you for the COVID-19 updates, and I know they're constantly changing, so that's kind of how it works. Melissa, how might it be that, can they go to the OCTA website and be able to pick up the most recent COVID-19 changes?
Yes, absolutely. And also we've added a safety message to our phone tree. So when they call in to book a ride with us, they hear kind of the latest information in terms of a mask is required to ride, and that, you know, not to ride if you're sick. So we have communication on our website, and we also have that forward-facing communication when they're booking the trip.
Okay. Another question. The fixed route system, because some of my students don't know this, are they still entering from the back door, or are they now entering from the front door?
They're now entering through the front.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
And
Good. Go ahead.
Leanne, another thing I would like to share, we are collecting the fares. Everyone is expected to pay. Previously, you know, during the pandemic, during, you know, like last year, March, April, May, some individuals were not paying and we did not enforce it, but now everyone must pay as they board.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's good to know. Thank you.
And
I didn't even know.
I want to share
I had
with
heard
you,
a rumor that it was free for a while, but I just kind of went, really? Okay. So, good to hear. There have been some concerns lately about, for instance, a lot of people are very grateful for access. And I know that the percentage of rides that you have that are on time are huge and above most of the nationwide service. But one of the things that have happened are, you know, it's like they will call the complaint, you know, your complaint services as 800-636-7433, but they never hear anything afterwards. How might someone go about being able to make sure that that their complaint was heard and that something's being done?
This is one thing that you need to do. Anytime you put a complaint in, you can identify, I would like a response back in writing, or I would like a call back. Mm-hmm. If you indicate those two technique areas, someone will follow back. Normally, once we answer the complaint, we will, first of all, we would investigate, and then we will come to a resolution. And if that resolution includes training, educate, or whatever the process is needed, that's what we do internally. But if someone would like a result of the comment, we'll be glad to, we can email, we can mail it, or either we can follow up with a phone call.
Okay. Excellent. I think that's been a concern for some of my students. So I see someone, Jane, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hi, I'm a question for, I'm a visitor from Los Angeles and have used the OCTA access service. I was wondering if we have the same stuff, like same day eligibility and online booking as well as the LA one.
Los Angeles County has a different program than OCTA. So for the policies and procedures and the rules, contact Los Angeles Access Service. OCTA has different rules and policies and procedures. But Los Angeles does have Los Angeles have an online process as well, but it's a little different than Orange County.
So as a visitor though, do I have access to all of the services, or do I just online services and stuff?
Yes, once you're certified in Orange County, you have all the privileges and rights as a resident that lives in Orange County.
Okay. Gracie, again, if you want to ask a question, if anyone wants to ask a question, please unmute yourself, say your name, and then we'll call on you and have you ask your question. Okay.
Leanne, this is Andrea DeClotz and Pat Pereno. We have a couple of questions, if we may.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Okay.
And then Raphael, I'll have you speak.
Okay, two things. One is, Gracie, what are the two cities that are not currently part of the senior ride program? And you started to say there were other ways to pay for access rides, and then you didn't finish that thought, I don't think, unless something is, I mean, I know you can buy tickets other places. I'm wondering if there's a new way to pay that we don't know about besides purchasing tickets or calling access to order tickets over the phone, which I have done. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
We're in the process of implementing a new software called Easy Wallet. And it's in we started a very, very soft start with at least about 6 individuals. We should be implementing it within the next month or two. And with that software, you're able to pay. Once we implement it, we will be sending a notice out in our newsletter to all of our customers and giving them the guidelines on how to use it.
So how would you pay? I guess that's what I'm confused. Would you pay on your smartphone?
You will pay just like you use PayPal. It's similar to PayPal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And what are the two cities that are not served?
I'm not 100% for sure. I was going to try to look it up online, but I can follow up with Leanne and give her that information.
I can just call them. That's fine. I'll just give them a call. I'm in Orange, and I didn't know whether we were part of this.
Oh yes, the city of Orange is part of it.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to call and sign up. We're both over 60, so we'll both sign up. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, perfect.
One thing I wanted to share with everyone, when Melissa shared with you about Neat Lift, now you do not have to be in a mobility device to use the lift to request it. You can be ambulatory. You know, some days we have our condition is episodic. Some days you have very good days. You can step on it and get bored from the front. But those days that your health and your strength and endurance is compromised and you need the lift, just let the coach operator know that you need a lift.
Right. Also, if you just don't prefer to go up the stairs, if you're just not feeling like you want to, the driver will deploy the lift for you. Just let them know,
Exactly.
and it'll get done.
Okay. Debbie, do you have anything else?
I have a question.
Okay, is this Raphael?
Say what?
David Sandoval.
Okay, David, you'll go after Raphael.
Okay.
Raphael is next.
Okay.
Deborah, Debbie Kessler, can you please mute yourself now? Thank you. Raphael?
Oh, I wanted
you're
to
next
ask a
in the
question.
way of asking
Okay.
a question. Raphael, there you go.
Yeah, hello. I like the way you guys are doing the sharing, but I'm wondering, the way to make a reservation is it still the same? Like, you make a call, or can you do it online?
Yeah, you can call to make a reservation, or you can do it online.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
you haven't used the online process as of yet? Am I correct?
No.
Okay,
No.
so call eligibility, because we have to get you set up. We have to give your we have to give you a unique ID.
Okay.
So you
Can
call
you be a
the
visitor?
number is 714-560-5956, and we'll be glad to get you set up. This really helps with your time management. You don't have to be on hold for a long period of time, but we follow the same guidelines. For example, if you're making the reservations for Saturday, the cutoff time is 5 o'clock for the next day. Now, any other time you can make the reservations for any time, but as for the telephone, the cutoff time is 5 o'clock. We make sure that we duplicate the same efforts so that we will not discriminate against individuals.
The other thing too with online booking, I would note, is you can use it for ride checks. So if you want to get an ETA when you're waiting for your vehicle that day, you can log in and see how long until the vehicle arrives. So that's a great tool.
Yeah. And it's good because you can use it on your phone or your tablet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
I have a question.
Right. Next question is from David Sandoval. Go ahead, David. David, are you still there? David? Oh, I don't see him anymore. He might be gone. Okay. How do you see David?
Let me check the number.
Okay.
Yeah, he is there, but he's muted. Yeah.
Okay, so David, if you can unmute yourself by hitting *6 and then be able to ask your question. I think we're having some trouble. Okay.
Leanne, looks like Arlene has a question.
I have a question, Leanne.
Okay, hold. First, I'll do Arlene Bernholtz, and then Maria. Is that you that wants to ask a question?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
Yes.
Arlene first, and then Maria.
Okay. I have a couple questions. When I made arrangements to go into another city, I didn't realize that they do not keep that information on file. And when I was ready to go another time, I had no transportation. And I think they need to tell people that this is only for this trip. And the next time you go somewhere, you need to place the request again. Is there any chance that they can keep that information when you're going on a regular basis, that's kept on file?
Arlene, each transit agency has a unique, different policy. So for Orange County, once you are a visitor and you have certification, we do not change anything. You can call as long as you're certified and make reservations. With Los Angeles County, and I talked to one of the managers over there. The county is so large and they have so many trips that they facilitate. Their service is they normally keep it in there for anywhere from 1 week to 2 weeks at the max.
Yeah,
and then you would have to call back. Get you don't have to go through the recertification process. They just have to enter you back into their system.
Right. Okay.
So that's Los Angeles County, for example. If you go to Riverside County, their process is different. So each time that you become a visitor in any area, ask them to either for their rider's guide or just ask that question. What's your policy on returning visitors?
Thank you for that one. Also, I had a question about the same-day taxi. I recently needed the service, and I live at a beach area, Laguna Beach, and I was waiting over an hour for a ride, and I called after an hour, and they said, "Oh, we haven't found a driver yet." Is there any way that they can communicate to the passenger that they're having a problem getting, a ride, so I'm not waiting in a time frame?
So I think with same-day taxi, this is a situation where they needed to be a little bit more realistic with you when you booked your trip to tell you, that they could make it in 30 minutes or an hour, but they needed to, the time that they would quote you needs to be realistic. So this is a probably failure on the contractor's part, but did you file a complaint about this particular trip?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just,
I
I
would
just
in-
asked them that it not be counted against me as,
Okay.
you know, turning down the ride.
I would encourage you and anyone on this call, if you have a negative experience, to file a complaint, because then it gives us some documentation and some leverage to make changes with the contractor. So I definitely don't like to hear that you were waiting for so long to get your ride, and that's a situation that I'd want to address with the contractor right away. So I'd encourage you to call customer service and give the specific trip information so that we can take a look at it further.
Okay, thank you for that one. And do you have the hours of the same day taxi? I wrote down the Saturday and Sunday, but I didn't get the hours for during the week.
It says 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And my last question is, more than one, I live in a hilly area in Laguna Beach, and sometimes I can't quite make it up the hill to where the bus wants me to get picked. The driver, they want to pick me up not in front of my place, and I have a hill to get to where, and not last year because I didn't use the service. Sometimes it's really hot out and it was hard for me to get up to the hill, and the driver would park on a busy street and help me up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've requested somebody to come out and see where I'm being picked up, that perhaps they can send the taxi instead of the big van. Every driver who helped me said, oh, call and mention it. And every time I've reported it, they all say the same thing. The driver has never said that there was an issue. And I went through that about 6 times in 2019. And
Okay.
so I'm kind of at a loss at how to deal with this.
Okay. So I am going to take down your name right now and then file a ticket so that we can go out and review your address. I definitely want to do that. The one thing I will say about specific vehicle types is that we can't designate a specific vehicle type to a customer or to an address. It's based on the available vehicles we have at the time. So in a lot of cases, especially depending on when you ride, like overnight or on weekends, you're typically going to get a taxi because that's when taxis are typically running. That. Yeah. So like during the day on a weekday, you might get a bus, and it might be a situation where you kind of have to meet the bus where it can navigate, especially in areas of like South County where the streets are so narrow. It's difficult for the bus to get up there, and it's kind of unsafe in some situations. So, but I'm going to take down your information, and let's look at that address. I think that's very important.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Absolutely.
And Melissa, you're able to see her name on screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Arlene Ernholtz.
Ernholtz.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next, Maria, you've got some
Okay,
comments.
so, yes, thank you. I have 2 quick questions. I'll try to make them quick. I'm not sure as far as the communication with the same-day cab drivers and access. I'm not sure how that is because I've had some issues with the same-day taxi drivers, and when I reported the incidents, there was no callback or anything. When I did check again, they said that there was never. Nobody had taken note of that, and so it doesn't happen when I call if there's an issue with the buses, you know, when I call Access directly. But when it has to do with the same day drivers, and then I call Access to report the issue, then they say that, you know, that they've never heard of it, or that they don't know what's going on. So I'm kind of wondering how the communication is with that, with the same, you know, how that works. And so that's one of my questions. And then
go ahead. Ask both your questions, and then I can address both.
My other question is, as far as the renewal of access. So like if it expires after a certain amount of time, before COVID hit, we were going into the office to renew the you know, the access term. And so I'm wondering how that is working now. Like if your access expires and you have to renew it, how that works in terms of like COVID, since COVID, if you still go into the office to do that, or if they do it by mail. I'm just wondering how that works.
Okay, so let me address the same-day taxi, and then I'll pass it over to Gracie for the certification. So when you file a complaint for OC Access or same-day taxi, you're going to call the customer service number and file the complaint, give the specific trip information. What happens at that point is the customer service center creates a ticket, a complaint, and that ticket is routed to the contractor. The contractor has to investigate the complaint and respond formally to OCTA with their investigation findings. And then also the contractor, if it's requested, has to reach out to the customer either by phone or through a letter, just depending on what you've asked them to do when you file the complaint. At that point, once OCTA receives the response from the contractor, we review it for completion and accuracy. So we have an idea of what's coming in terms of complaints. So it's very, very important that if you have a service issue or any kind of complaint about your ride, that you file that complaint, because at that point we can get all the trip information, contractor can investigate it, and then we at OCTA can review that investigation and make sure that the issue is resolved to our satisfaction. So that's kind of a high level of how the process is and why it's so important. So Gracie, you want to cover the? Oh, sorry. Did you have
Melissa,
another?
Can I piggyback on that, please?
Sure.
This is Deanne. What information do they need to give to customer service about the trip?
It depends on the complaint. So for example, if it's a trip issue, what would be helpful is to know the day and time of the trip. If you have information about who the driver is, that would be great, or the vehicle. But if you don't, I mean, as long as you are able to tell us the day and time of the trip, we can kind of find that other information. But sometimes customers will call in and just have a general thing like, oh, I've worked with this driver before. I don't know the specific date that I met with him. That's difficult for us to figure out which trip you're talking about and kind of narrow down who the employee is. So the easiest thing would be call and tell us the day and time of the trip, any other information you can, and then just give us an overview of the concern. And then at that point, we can take it from there.
Okay,
I just want to reply really, if I can, really quick. I did all that. I did exactly that. And so I just want to make, I guess I just was wondering what happens at that point, because I took down the driver's information. I called it in, and I still got the same driver back, because nothing ever got done. So that's what I was just wondering.
So if you file a complaint, and you're not satisfied with the driver, the contractor is going to, investigate, take action, and appropriate action. That doesn't mean that you won't get that driver again.
I have a question, okay?
You might, if for future trips, you might have an interaction with that driver again. But if it's an egregious complaint, I mean, the contractor takes that into account. And potentially the driver could be removed from performing either OC Access or same-day taxi service. But that's for like really egregious kind of situations. Okay. But just know if you have a complaint, sometimes you might get that driver again. But it's important to document, because if we see a pattern or practice with this driver having the same behavior, that's concerning, and that would lead us, potentially to remove that driver from service.
Okay, thank you.
Gracie, you answer the other question, and then Harold, I'll have you ask a question after that. Okay. Hold on.
So once before your certification expires, 2 months before it expires, my team sent out a letter to let you know that your service is about to expire. And that gives you the opportunity to call in and see if you still need the service. If you still need the service, we will put the number in, and you call, and we will you will be recertified. But currently, as of March of last year until now, we are only doing telephones interview because of the safety of our customers and everyone. I cannot tell you when we will be moving forward to in-person, but we will only be moving forward when it is safe and we get the guidelines from the CDC, the state, and our local health department. So if your service, and some individuals receive the letter and they just forget to call to become recertified. But it's very important that's why we give you 2 months. So just follow back up and we will do your telephone evaluation. And if you qualify for the service, we will extend it. As you know, our maximum is 5 years.
Okay.
Our minimum could be as small as 3 months because we have different categories.
Okay. Thank you, Gracie.
I have a question.
Is Harold. Harold, you have a question? You need to unmute.
There we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Two quick questions. In regards to if you file a complaint, what's the turnaround time as far as being able to have that investigated and to get back some kind of a resolution regarding what complaint we might file? And then the other question I had was regarding recertification. I know in LA County, when you have to recertify, when you book that trip to go to their center, or the way it used to be, right, before COVID, that trip used to, I'm assuming it still is now, would be free of cost to the passenger going to get recertified. Is that the same thing that happens in Orange County as well?
Yes. Anytime we request the customer to come in, you do not have to pay. For example, for eligibility, if you have an appeals hearing, you do not have to pay. Just be transported.
Mm-hmm. And then for complaints, the turnaround time that we'd like to have is 2 weeks. Definitely to have that complaint addressed in 2 weeks. But at a minimum, the contractor has to investigate and provide those findings to us by the end of the month as part of our invoice processing with them. So they don't get paid until they've investigated all the complaints and closed them out to our satisfaction.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah. And
Can you hear me?
This is David Sandoval.
David, you're back. Cool. All right,
yes,
go ahead.
I had trouble unmuting myself.
Okay, well, glad you're on now. Okay, go ahead.
I have 2 questions. Has same-day taxi thought about extending the mileage from 5 to 8 miles?
We've kind of considered that in the past. I don't believe we have any plans to do that at this point, but it's an interesting idea for the future.
Okay, my other question has to do with recertification. There are those of us like myself that are vision impaired that it's never going to get any better. It's always going to be the same. And other people that are totally blind or in wheelchairs, they're never going to actually lose access of their wheelchair. Can't those people just automatically be certified because they're going to have that same problem for the rest of their life, not just temporarily? Like some people, they just use it temporarily, the service.
Okay, we do have a process. It's called auto renewal, but we have to evaluate the individuals. All individuals that come through a in-person assessment, we evaluate those individuals. And if their condition will not change, and there's no medical process that will make the condition change, we identify those individuals as auto renewal. You do not have to you do need to reapply for the service, but it's only a one-page application to update your information. But during the pandemic, for the telephone assessment, we're not able to do that type of assessment.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But once we return to in-person assessment, we provide that service. Currently, we on a monthly basis, we send out about 325 auto renewal applications. So we have identified several in the hundreds that's in our database that is auto renewal.
All right. Well, thank you for the information. You guys gave us a lot of good information to help all of us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
May I ask,
Can you hear me?
give your name. If you want to ask a question, please give me your name and we'll put it in the Chris? Okay, Chris, go
Yes.
ahead.
Leanne,
Hi,
this is Christine. Can I get on the list?
Yes, okay,
Thank you.
you're next. Chris and Christine.
Can you? Yes. Hi, hi everyone. Good morning. I calling to find out to see if the same day app is back online, or is it going to be back online in the future?
So the same day app is not currently available. We have potential to bring on an app maybe next year, but we are still planning that out.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. It's hard to keep up with everything. Okay, Christine, your turn.
Hi. First, I was wondering, have all your drivers been vaccinated?
So, no, not all of our drivers have been vaccinated. We are following federal, state, and local guidelines as it relates to COVID-19 safety. And at this time, there is no mandate from the federal government, from the state government, or from the local entities to require vaccination of our drivers. So at the point that that mandate comes down, we can address that, but we do not have the ability to enforce vaccinations on our drivers at this point.
Okay. And then my other question is, in the past, when you've gone somewhere, you cannot request another ride for an hour and a half. Is there any chance that that might be re-looked at? Because we may not need to stay there that long. Say we need a ride in an hour.
So the reason for that is because, you know, when you are picked up for your first trip, you have an on-time window of, 30 minutes before you can get in order for the driver to arrive. By the time, if the driver arrives at the end of that 30-minute window, you board the vehicle, you are on the bus, there might be share rides. So we're not exactly sure in some cases when you will get to your destination. And then at that point, when the second vehicle would pick you up. So we have to have a buffer in between those two trips to be sure that the second vehicle doesn't miss you. So that's kind of an operational challenge that, we have to address, and that's why we have that buffer time.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Arlene. I have another question regarding same-day cab taxi.
All right.
And that is, I no longer am able to drive, and I need to get to my P.O. box, which is about 1.5 miles away. Is there any way the driver could just park there for like 5 minutes while I go to my box and get my mail, and I don't have to wait to get another ride back? And I've done this in the rain, and there's no place to sit near my post office. There's no benches, there's nothing.
Yeah, unfortunately, just due to the nature of the service, the fact that we're share ride and that we are performing transportation for other passengers, we can't wait for those quick trips. But, I would suggest maybe using same day taxi. That could be a little bit more of a flexible option.
No, that's what excuse me, Melissa, that's what I'm talking about. I'm only talking about the same day taxi.
Okay.
And the first time I used them, they said, no, we can't wait. And I said, I'm just going to be in and out. It's not like I'm dropping a package off or anything at the post office.
Right. So that's true. They can't wait, but they are a faster option to get to you than potentially OC Access service, where you have that 1.5 hour buffer. So same day taxi is your best option for those quick trips, but they can't wait.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from individuals? Gracie and Melissa, I know that Access is doing everything they possibly can to be as accessible as they can be in line with the law.
Leanne.
Hello?
I'm sorry, Leanne. This is Ken. I had a thought for the last commenter about a turnaround time.
Yes.
What I will do often is take an Uber or a Lyft home, because they're Johnny on the spot there, and then it's not as much of an issue. Yeah, it's double the price, but that double is an extra $4.
Okay.
Thank you. Unfortunately, in Laguna Beach, Uber and Lyft seem to be half an hour plus to get here if they arrive.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame.
I can't even get Uber Eats to bring food to me sometimes.
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Good idea, though.
Okay. And trying to look, as Gracie said earlier, to try and look into all the transportation options that are available to you. That would be partially working with your O&M instructor in the area, and also trying to think outside the box. That's what we try and work on, especially in South County, because that's where transportation is more of a difficulty. I know, Gracie, I asked you at one point in time, would there ever be a time when access would cover the whole county? And I know that's not going to happen, but it's still something to hope for. It's just hard. I know that I have several students on here that they have to call same-day taxi first and then pay for that and then go to access and pay for that, but have to wait, and they're never sure when same-day taxi is going to pick them up and drop them off in order to catch that access ride that would be at the pickup point. It gets very difficult. My question is, it was for a while that you didn't have to pay for access if you had to pay for same-day taxi, but do you have to pay for both now if you're taking both in a row?
Yes, and previously, when we first started our contract with the taxi service, we had a small pilot program to facilitate our customers because it was an extra expense. But that program only lasts for a year, and we discontinued it. And we know it was a financial hardship on the individuals. That's why we tried to do a soft start. But unfortunately, for a one-way 88 paratransit trip for Orange County, it's anywhere from $48 to $50. That's what we have to pay. Yeah, and it's very expensive. And so the $3.60 that our customers pay, it has been subsidized through Measure M. Because the normal price is $4. But Measure M subsidized at 40 cents. And that's why it's $3.60. Now, in reference to Arlene, Laguna does have a senior mobility program, and I can give you the phone number.
Thank you. I'm ready.
Okay. Now, are you in Laguna Hills, Miguel, or Wood?
No, I'm on the Coast Highway. I'm in Laguna Beach.
Isn't that Sally's fund?
Yes, but they only go to certain locations.
Exactly.
Right.
They only go to certain locations. So for South County, let me give you this number here, 949 855 9766. Now, this is South County service, and they only is based on donations, but the base trip is $2 per trip.
Is that Age Well?
Yes.
Okay, Age Well, I registered with them, but they only go to medical places.
Yeah,
period.
they are very limited. Now, have you also tried Trips?
No.
Okay, Trips is another program, which is 949-724-7433. And they have
it's called Trips?
Yes, Trips.
Okay.
And that's
Isn't that Irvine?
Excuse me?
Trips is Irvine.
Yeah, but they go outside of Irvine.
Huh.
Yeah, they do go outside of the Irvine. And
okay, all right.
A one-way trip is $1.90.
Okay, thank you.
And it's some trips they only provide in the city, but they will go outside of the city for medical related or anything, like if you're going to pick up some medicine from your pharmacy, or if you're going to physical therapy, or if you're going to your gym and it's medical related or anything like that.
But don't you have to be an Irvine resident to use it?
Yes, you do. Well, they deviated the program. Sometimes you don't have, they are extending it to individuals that's outside of Irvine as well.
Maybe they charge an extra fee for
They
that,
do.
just like Access does
Right, it's
when you go further
$3.80.
away.
$3.80 instead of a $1.90.
Okay,
And there's a $25 registration fee.
wow.
Yeah.
And the annual renewal is $20. So it's,
And they still aren't like Access where they'll take you anywhere. That's what's so wonderful for Access, that I was able to get to some of my volunteer work with the Red Cross because I could use Access. And it wasn't, medical related.
exactly.
Thank
I have
you.
a quick comment. I have a quick
Maria?
comment, Leanne. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say I've been taking Access for a long time, and just thank you for the service. It really, it's been great. And I know that I'm speaking for myself. I've had complaints and this and that, but in all, Access has just been really great. And I know that you work hard behind the scenes to make this all work. So for my part, I just want to thank you for being here today, and and just answering my questions, and thank you. So that's all.
Hey, I have a
I
question.
agree.
You're welcome.
I have somebody in line. I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. It's Paras and Shan.
Yeah.
Yes.
We both have a question.
Okay.
When it comes to Access, when do you think they will allow same-day trips to be available? Because booking one day in advance is kind of hard. Sometimes we need to do same day, when do you think we'll be able to have that? And also, partnering with Uber or like those kind of thing. Even also I'm suggesting payment options that you'll be able to pay with an app, things like that. Can you talk about that for a second, please?
So OC Access will most likely always be an advanced reservations program, but we do offer same-day taxi that would fill that need of, you need a quick trip or you didn't plan for your trip in advance and you want to take one today. Same-day taxi is an excellent option for you. I'd highly recommend you take a look at that.
This is Orange County?
Yes, Orange County.
What about LA? We kind of near Orange, we're in LA. How did that work for them?
Oh, you'd have to kind of reach out to LA to talk about that, but what I would say is likely not a same-day option for LA.
And they only go 5 miles for that fee.
Right.
Then it gets very expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
And this today is only about Orange County Access.
Okay.
Maybe we can do one with LA in the future. And please, whoever's eating, could you please mute while you're eating? That would be appreciated. And hopefully in the future, maybe we will do one for LA Access, but they are different in different ways. So please be aware of that. Someone with the initials DK, Deborah, is that you? Do you have another question?
Yeah, I didn't get to ask my other one, but I think the
Okay.
signal gave out. Anyway, my question is, this new service, something like PayPal and that, will the card service will they have access to a credit card or to my general ATM card? Like
Credit.
taps, a credit card?
Yeah, credit card. And once you have your card on file and you can top it up or you can top it down, once you top it down to a certain level, you will receive an email saying you need to add money to your account.
Okay, so it will be their particular credit card. Now, see, like the tap service, they would, if I put money on my tap card, which is MTA or whatever, they would have access, they're connected to my ATM card. So I don't use it that way, but I do use my credit card to pay like Apple Pay and that. And I'm just saying, there's no way I would let some credit card service like that have direct connection with my ATM account, my regular bank account. That's what I'm asking.
That's correct. No, please don't do that. That's why we offer credit cards. We don't use the ATM cards.
Okay, I'm just, okay, all right. But it's not going to be like how the tap service works.
How what service work?
TAP, MTA's TAP service.
Yeah, this is a totally different program than the tap card at Metro.
Okay, so it's not going to work like Metro. Okay, that's good. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other
Hi.
individuals? Please state your name.
Hi, everybody. This is Rebecca.
Okay, Rebecca, go ahead.
Hey, I had typed in a question in the chat box because I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand. I don't know if you saw the question. I was wondering what the phone number was if we needed to file a complaint. Is it the eligibility number?
No.
Or is it
The number is 800-636-7433. Okay,
and is that for
it's in the chat box.
Okay, and is that for same-day taxi or for access?
Oh,
yes.
For both.
For both.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Melissa and Gracie, when someone, I know that you said the turnaround is about 2 weeks for complaints and those types of things. So if they don't, if someone is asked for a written or a phone call back, if they don't receive something, should they call back?
Yes, please do. Yes.
All right. I'm just trying to make sure.
And Leanne, I want to emphasize that if a complaint is very complex and severe, it may take longer than 2 weeks because it takes some time if we need to investigate the staff, coach operators, individuals that's on the vehicle, reviewing the video. So that can take some time.
Okay.
So, but
So our goal is 2 weeks, but not always. But our goal is 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another question was same-day taxi. It used to be that you had to pay cash for same-day taxi. You couldn't use the coupons. Is that still the case?
They do not accept coupons.
Okay. So same-day taxi is cash or credit cards, whatever the taxi driver.
Cash or credit cards.
Okay. All right. Are there any more questions? Because I have one more thing I need to cover. Anybody else? I want you guys to go first. Questions?
I have a question.
Oh. And who is this?
BJ Campbell.
Okay, BJ.
I've been with an Access for almost about 27 years now. I noticed that if it depends on the rider or the driver. If they're in a good mood and they talk nice to the driver talks nice back. It all depends on your attitude, but it also depends on his attitude or her attitude. I've never had a driver complain or yell. I did have one saying, please sit down and make sure your seatbelt's buckled.
Mm-hmm.
If you're nice to the driver, he's nice back. If you're nice to the riders in the van with you or the cars, they're nice. So it all depends on you and others. Just, you got to chill out and not be yelling. Sometimes they do yell because it's, I think it's a special need person, and that's the way they communicate sometimes, but sometimes they don't yell. but I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for the access.
And it is a great program, and we really do appreciate it being out there, especially when you say things like it's $48 to $50 one way, and it's the taxpayers and the government and being subsidized quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
One of the things, Gracie and Melissa, that I've been hearing of, and it concerns me and some of my riders, is that those with service dogs, and it's with same-day taxi, and they're taking the mats and turning the mats over and having the dogs sit on the prickly part. And it's hard in that they still need to accept the ride because they need to get somewhere. They're vulnerable at this point in time. But at the same time, they want to take care of their animals and make sure that they're treated right. And they have sent in complaints, but they haven't heard anything in return. What do they need to do?
So we have been monitoring the situation very closely. It's very concerning to us that that complaint would come out. And so Gracie and I have personally reviewed those complaints that have come in regarding this issue. And what we found is that the drivers identified are actually drivers that have been with the program for several years. One of them has been with the cab program for 10 years and has been providing this level of service for about 10 years. So this isn't a situation where in our investigation that it's a malintent, it's done in a, you know, it's not a behavior issue. What we found that's happening with the cabs is that they have a new car wash vendor. So when the cab driver is going to get their car washed, for whatever reason, the car wash attendant was sometimes flipping over the mat and the driver didn't notice. So this has been kind of an incident on a couple of vehicles. And so what we've done to correct this is had a meeting with the car wash vendor to explain, you know, this is not an acceptable kind of situation. You can't be doing that. We've also put out a message blast to all drivers, cab drivers, to look out for that and make sure before you start your day, check the mats, make sure they're in the appropriate position. And then we've also reached out to those particular customers who have made that comment and just updated them on the situation. So I've spoken with Scott Quinlan over about this issue personally, and so just to communicate our concerns. So those are the findings of that particular issue. And since we have had that communication, since we've taken those actions, no other complaints of this nature have come in. So we're very pleased by that. But I will say, you know, we are continuing to monitor it because it is very concerning. We want to make sure that that is not happening at all. So if it does happen, if you do experience that on your ride, please file a complaint so that we can look into it immediately because we are watching this very closely.
Okay.
And
thank you.
To echo from Melissa, it's a major concern of OCTAs. We have did a comprehensive investigation, as Melissa had indicated, and it also has risen to the attention of our special needs and advocate committee. So we addressed it, and we've been working with individuals that are presidents of the Blind Association of Orange County, and so they have a list of at least 50 to 80 people that's in their program. So the word is out, and we're not going to tolerate anything but good quality service. But unfortunately, it just was an isolated type of incident,
right?
That really got out of hand.
And one thing I want to have you verify is that you do, with all your drivers, when they're brought on, they're given a special training on how to deal with disabilities, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, okay. And so, yeah, no, thank you again. Okay, Judy, do you have a question? Oh, exiting. Sorry, guys. Now we're down to the very last few minutes.
Well, and Leanne, one more thing I want to say, and individuals get training as they come on, but they constantly training the coach operators. Depending on the situation, you know, the flavor of the month, they train.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good to hear. So there's updated training as they go on. Yeah.
Excuse me, this is Rebecca. I have one more question. Sorry.
Sure.
Do you know what happens if you schedule a ride for same day taxi and it's maybe, I want to say, like 15 minutes before 8 o'clock? Because I've heard of some people getting stranded and not getting picked up. And I was wondering maybe if there's a way that they can extend the time frame a little bit longer.
So why is it only 8 o'clock? Why isn't it 10
Yeah.
11?
Sorry.
So those,
yeah, my staff was kind of
right.
wondering, but
So those are the service hours, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. What I will say is if you call Same Day Taxi and you agree upon a pickup, Same Day Taxi has to perform that pickup. So if you're experiencing a situation where you're stranded because you're kind of at that, 7:30 kind of buffering 8 p.m. And you don't receive a ride, please file a complaint because we want to make sure that doesn't happen. If they agree to pick you up, they have to pick you up.
But they're not going to extend the time frame though after 8 o'clock.
If they have, let's say you call in at 7:30, they say they're going to pick you up at 8 p.m. They have to service the trip. If they said if they agreed to pick you up, they have to service the trip. So file a complaint if that happens, and we can investigate the specifics of your situation and get back to you.
Can you explain the no strand rule?
The no strand rule. The no strand rule for OC access.
Yes. Yeah. Like okay, if you are waiting for a ride at 7:30, of course, and they can't get there, and it's after 8, and you're at home, versus if you're out somewhere and you have to get home. Now, am I incorrect in assuming that if you're out that somewhere need to get home, that you need to get home, whatever that time would be?
So that's, yeah. So if you book a ride with Same Day Taxi, they have to call you and communicate to you when they're going to pick you up. So they would have that communication with you kind of when it gets close to that 8 p.m. time and come to an agreement with you about when they're coming to pick you up.
Okay.
Hi, but there's no possibility of them in like sometime in the near future extending the hours of operation for same day, correct?
No, at this time that's not something that we're looking into, but if there's any kind of changes to that, we'll definitely let you know.
Okay.